got a little box to fill in here before we work on a review of the distributive property, and that is the distributive property involves multiplication. So just a quick review. Remember, when you are multiplying, if you have a positive times a positive, obviously the answer is positive. But the same is true if you have a negative times a negative. All right, those negatives basically cancel each other out there. You can think of it that way. If you're multiplying and the signs are different, like a positive times a negative, then the product is negative. All right, so signs the same, product is positive. Signs are different, the product is negative. All right, when it comes to addition and subtraction, you're often going to end up with some double signs. If you leave them written that way, it can sometimes be confusing. But here's the thing, 5 plus negative 2 is equal to 3. Okay, 5 plus negative 2 is equal to 3, because really adding a negative number is the same as subtracting. All right, so if you have 5n plus negative 2, rather than leave it written that way, we'd prefer to simplify those double signs and just say 5n minus 2. All right, remember this here, if you have minus a negative, all right, that becomes addition. Okay, when you subtract, you go to the left on the number line, but when you subtract a negative, it turns you back around in the positive addition direction. So really, we want to simplify 5 minus a negative 2 as 5 plus 2, which is, of course, 7. Okay, when it comes to a variable expression, instead of 5n minus a negative 2, we want 5n plus 2. So simplify double signs. That's a good idea here. So let's review the distributive property. Honestly, I'm not going to write anything other than the rainbows. All right, I'm going to do this mentally because I think it's better than trying to write all this out. So 2 times 4h. Okay, first of all, I can multiply 2 times 4 times h. The 2 times 4 is 8h. Okay, and then 2 times a positive 1 is 2. Done. All right. Distributive property still works backwards. We can multiply 3 times 3 and get 9. And then we can multiply 3 times a positive 5d, and that's going to be a positive or plus 15d. And you can leave it written this way, or make it 15d plus 9. All right, the next one, we're distributing a negative number. So the first thing would be a negative 5 times a positive 1 is negative 5. All right, but when we take negative 5 times negative f, the first thing I want to remind you is that you can, if it makes you feel more comfortable, maybe I'll do this. Okay, I'm going to rewrite that statement as negative 5 times 1 minus 1f. All right, so keep in mind there is a 1 in front of that variable f. The coefficient of that is a negative 1. So when we take negative 5 times positive 1, that's negative 5. Then we take the negative 5 and times it by a negative 1, and it becomes positive 5f. All right, remember these aren't like terms. When you have a term that's a plain number and a term that has a variable, you cannot add those. All right, so let's continue with that on number 4. Negative 6 times negative 3, a negative times a negative is positive 18. And then negative 6 times a positive 2b would be a negative times a positive is negative. Now, rather than write plus a negative, all right, I guess I'll do it once. Rather than write plus a negative 12b, all right, I'd rather see people not doing that at all. All right, I'd rather have us not do that. I'd rather see you just simply say this. A negative 6 times a positive 2b is a negative 12b, and then you can just, instead of plus a negative 12b, you can just immediately say minus 12b. That means plus a negative 12b. All right, so repeating that process here, again, the negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. All right, but instead of writing plus a negative 8q. All right. I would rather have you not even write that at all. All right, so I'm going to put a little slash mark through that and say, let's try and avoid that. We don't really want to do that. It's going to be better if you can just say a negative 4 times a negative 4 is 16, and a negative 4 times a positive 2q is a negative 8q. And you can leave it written just like that. All right, next one. Negative 3 times positive 6 is negative 18. And then negative 3 times negative 5p is a negative times a negative. That is positive 15p. I don't even want to write minus a negative 15p. Just a negative times a negative is positive there. All right, so you'll do that way for a while at IXL H2. And then they're going to ask you to do this. They're going to say factor. Write your answer as a product with a whole number greater than 1. All right, here's what this means for you to do. It means find a number that the terms that you're given can be divided by. So probably the easiest one is 2. All right, both of those I could divide by a 2. All right, if I did that, then I would say the 12h divided by 2. Well, let's do this. 2 times what is 24h? Well, 2 times 12h. And then 2 times 5 is 10. And so this would be writing the expression in factored form. All right? That's the only option for that one. All right, let's try the next one. What are 27d and 36 divisible by? Well, they're both divisible by 3. All right, I can write that 3 times what? I would need 9d. 3 times 9d is 27d. And 3 times 12 is 36. So I could write this for my answer. With both of these, remember, the point of this here is that we still have an expression that's equal to the original typed expression, because if we did distribute, we'd get back to where we started. All right, notice though with number 8, you do have other options here. 27 and 36 are also both divisible by 9. 9 times 3d minus 4. All right? So you won't have to do both. You can do one or the other. All right, how about 35x and 15y? What are 35 and 15 divisible by? Well, they're divisible by 5. So I'm going to divide 35x by 5. That'd be 7x. And 15 divided by 5, 15y divided by 5 is 3y. So I'll put that, again, inside of parentheses with my factor, my multiple 5 out front, so that this product, if I did use the distributive property, okay, you can see that if I distributed this back out, I would get 35x plus 15y. So give H2 a try.